All Black Everything podcast, where our goal is to empower, educate, and elevate. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Portia. So let's get to it today. Let's get to it. I know a lot of you guys been watching the news and seeing everything that has been transpiring with the baby, right? And so if just to kind of give you a little breakdown, basically he made some homophobic comments is what they're claiming, and because of that, in well-respected or non-respected cancel culture fashion, they basically have been removing him from everything. Before we get into it, take a look at what he said.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone light in the air. Lady, if you like water, put a cell phone light in the air. Fellas.
Lights up.
Fellas, if you ain't sucking in the parking lot, put your cell phone lights in the air.
Let's be real about this.
Now, in regards to his comments, right? In regards to the baby's comments. Now, honestly, my opinion before I get into this whole cancel culture is that really what he said just sounded just unnecessary. Like, who breaks out and says that during a concert? But honestly, that's not even really the point. The point is, like, as soon as we live in a generation, basically where I'm going to get at is, we live in a generation where you can't have your own opinion. You can't say anything. Like, freedom of speech is definitely have nothing related to freedom of speech, right? So he made his comment and he indicated, like, put your hands up in the air if you don't have HIV. Or put your lights in the air if you don't got HIV. Then it said, put your light in the air, females, if your yoo-hoo stays wet. Right? Then he says, put your hand in the air for all the men if you're not sucking you know what in the parking lot, right? And everybody was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They canceled him from Lollapalooza. He basically, a lot of his endorsements were gone. But I feel like, as it relates to, like, you know, the LGBTQ community, I hope I said that right. As it relates to that, you can't say anything. You can't say anything that they feel like is completely offensive, or literally the whole world is just going to just blow up and just, you know, melt to volcano dust, as you will. You know, nobody made any comment as it related to him saying anything about women. Women, if your yoo-hoos is wet, put your lights in the air. I mean, I don't take offense to that, but if we want to speak about women's rights and Me Too movements, why didn't anybody say anything about that? As far as the HIV comment or whatever, like, he didn't say anything related to, like, well, you know, if you gay and don't have AIDS, put your hands up. He didn't say that. He just was speaking about HIV. And yes, the information that he had gave is wrong. Like, if you're going to die in a couple of weeks, like, whatever. The bottom line is, I feel like people take the literalist things too serious now, and we're ready to just cancel people off the drop of the dime. Black folks been getting talked about from the end of time, to our face, behind our backs, and all of that. And this has been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries. I mean, I just look at it like, now all of a sudden, because everybody is on board with, well, I should say the majority is on board with, you know, gay rights, and more power to you if that is the case. However, why is it the littlest thing that somebody says it literally ends in like a whole like catastrophe of all of that. Like, they're so much in a protected class, they're up there with animals as it relates to PETA. Like how they did, you know, Mike Vick. They put that man behind bars for dog fighting, when in other countries they eat dogs. But we got police officers that are not even getting put away for murdering a black man or a black woman. You know? Like, there's no even side to any of this. It's just like whatever more is popular, wherever the popularity is at. Oh, it's popular to, you know, stand with gay rights. So that's what, you know, that's the masses. You better not say anything out of line in regards to that. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with a lot of different other sides or whatever, but I just feel like we are so quick. Biggest thing is we are so quick to cancel someone as it relates to, you know, that group of people, and literally to the point where, don't you guys remember a couple of years back, well, some years back, when somebody found a tweet from Kevin Hart back in like 2008, and he made a comment about, you know, I guess it had related to gay or whatever, and they were literally about ready to cancel him. They wanted him to give an apology. And comics, to me, I mean, this is my point. Like, we grew up with comedy, with raunchy comedy, from Richard Pryor to even a white woman, Lisa Napalelli or Lapinelli, whatever her name is, where they are just literally, you know, pretty raw and direct with it. So we're going up to comedians and asking them to apologize for some comments that he made about a popular group of people now versus what he made in 2009, coming back to it. Like, I feel like we are too quick to cancel someone. And I'm not saying that the baby's actions were right. I'm not saying, or what he said was right. I'm not saying any of that. Honestly, like I told you, I feel like what he said was unnecessary, because who just breaks out and says that during the concert? But whatever, right? But I just feel like we live in a generation where we can't have an opinion for ourselves, whether you disagree with the opinion or not, right? And there's certain groups of people that I swear they're like the mob when it comes to saying any little thing. Any little thing. And I just think that we need to kind of like, you know, look at that. Like, honestly, with the baby, in my eyes, if they said something or whatever, and if he said something to offend people, you have the option to no longer listen to him and move along, or you're gonna continue to rock with him. But to have this whole debate and whole like history lesson and say, oh, we just need to educate him, and we just need to have this whole debacle when there's bigger things going on in the world, like them possibly locking down the entire world because of this new Delta strand. But you guys are talking about somebody that is, I mean, come on now, there's people in the street just shit talking. Like, we're talking about that. If you don't like it, change the channel. If you do, keep it moving. Black people have had to learn how to do that for years. Oh, you called me a nigger? Okay, well, you know what? I don't want to mess with you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have the right not to deal with you. Same thing that any other group has dealt with. Latinos, what they've dealt with. Any other group, it's kind of like we've had to fend for ourselves. Oh, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to mess with you no more. You have a choice not to mess with somebody. But to make that worldwide news and talk about canceling them, you guys are reaching. It's reaching. But that's just my opinion. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on what you think. I love the comments. There's no right or wrong answer. I want people to use the comment platform so that we can have discussions pertaining to, you know, these type of conversations. I feel like this is honestly, ultimately what's going to bring us together, because we're going to have those uncomfortable conversations. The way that I look at something may be different from the way the next person looks at something. And if you can explain that to me in an educated way or whatever, maybe there's something I didn't think about on the other side. But you guys let me know what your thoughts are. So let's get into our topic today. It is critical race theory. There has been a lot of talk about banning critical race theory from the schools. And basically what critical race theory is, it is the topic or discussion about the history of oppression and how it has formed our, society today, So the question is, should we be talking about critical race theory in schools? So you have some people that say, yes, we should, because people need to know the real history behind how everything has kind of divided races and how all of this has, evolved, how you have, such a separation between white people and people of color. So this is something we should be talking about. And then you have another group of people, those are the conservatives, who feel like, no, we need to be banning, critical race theory. We shouldn't even be talking about it, because in doing so, you're making white people out to be the villains, right? Now, on the liberal side, they believe that race started from an individual. Like it's an individual. And when I say individual, we're talking about all the bigots and stuff like that out in the world, right? And then on the conservative side, they say race isn't, bigotry exists, but racism isn't something that is an issue within an individual. It's a social construct, and how policies and laws and things of that nature are set. So my thought process behind this whole debacle is, when you have people that say, hey, no, racism is a social construct, versus people that say, and those are the conservatives, versus the liberals saying, hey, no, racism was brought on by an individual, individuals, and that's what actually shaped our country. When you have those two different sides, to me, it seems like common sense that critical race theory is necessary. It's necessary because it's necessary for us to teach our children, no matter how pretty the past or past looks, we need to be teaching our children about the history of where they came from and how things are, transpired and molded us into the country that we are today. So to say, well, hey, I don't want critical race theory as a parent because it's teaching racism against whites. No, I don't think it's teaching racism against whites. What I think that it's teaching is I think that it's able to let them see that white privilege is real. White privilege is real. I don't think that keeping the truth from anybody, whether they're a child or an adult, is gonna help rectify any type of issue. The reality of the situation is for conservatives to say, hey, you know what? Racism wasn't started by bigots. It was started by a social construct of laws and policies. But who makes those laws and policies? Who makes those laws and policies? White men in power. God doesn't make those policies. He didn't just say, hey, let me just drop this on you and you go ahead and read all the policies that are going to be set to all the people in the world. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. Somebody had to write these policies out. Somebody had to, write these laws out. And they wrote these policies and laws out to only protect a protected class. And that protected class at that time and for decades and decades and centuries and centuries and centuries has been the white man. Like, this isn't to throw dirt, but this is reality of the situation. So now, because and this is what's crazy to me though. When I was coming up in school, first of all, they didn't talk to us about our history in depth. They talked to us about slavery. Slavery was bad. And then you heard a list of heroes that you hear all the time. Your Martin Luther Kings, your Malcolm X's, your Harriet Tubmans. We heard about that. And that's as far as it went, right? But to even tell a child that, yeah, you know what, your ancestors were slaves and they had to work for no money in the heat picking cotton. That doesn't affect a child? Are you saying that doesn't affect a black child? Because to turn around and say, hey, you know what? Now we're going to tell the real history. Not only were those little black kids' ancestors slaves, but these white people that we have holidays for, the Christopher Columbuses of the world, and almost all of our presidents before slavery actually ended were slave owners. Like, let's talk about the real. But now to tell the truth to a white child is damaging, and now we're being racist, and now they're saying that all white people are villains and that white people are bad. So it's bad to teach the real history to a white child, but when you were telling black children that they were slaves, that was okay. As long as you didn't talk about how in depth it got, because they still told us that we got whooped and that we were in chains. But what that does to a child's mind. Oh, and then think about a black child and a white child in class together, and that black child has to hear, oh, well, you were slaves. You guys were slaves. You guys had to pick cotton. You guys had, this is your history. And this is what you guys, dealt with when we brought you guys over from Africa. But every time you're talking about someone in white history back in the day, it was always about a leader. It was always about what he stood for. It was always about this, that, and the other. Yeah, we heard about some of our black leaders too, but you definitely wanted to remind us that we were enslaved, as we should know. I'm not saying that should have been taken from us, but I'm just saying it's the same on the other side. Just like there were great, leaders on in any race, there was also awful people. And I feel like not only black children, but white children should know how this country started. Like, how this country started. It matters. The reality of the situation is they know that it was deplorable. They know that the reality of the situation is they know that the history is not painted in beautiful pictures. And if the real got out, they would almost lose their, I don't want to say they would lose their power. They ain't never going to lose their power. But it definitely would be an eye-opener for a lot of people that walked around with sheets over their eyes for years. And if we teach these children this information at a young age, It's not teaching racism. I don't think it's teaching a divide. I think it's starting a conversation. I think it's understanding what white privilege is. And I think that that's important in order to bring us together, because a lot of children grow up in today's world, white children grow up in today's world with the mentality that their parents put on them that, oh, well, you know, anybody can have what you have. All you need to do is pull your bootstraps up and work hard and do it. And black people, they don't have what they have, and other cultures, they don't have what they have is because they're lazy. But you got to work hard and pull your bootstraps up, even though they inherited a whole oil company that was given down to them since 1824 and shit. Like, they need to know the reality of it. It wasn't about nobody pulling the bootstraps up. What it was is, think about playing Monopoly. So think of this analogy. Let's say we play 5 rounds of a Monopoly, right? And in those 5 rounds of Monopoly, I don't even say 5 rounds. Let's say we play Monopoly. And during the time we play Monopoly, I'm basically I'm not giving any money. So the other person is buying up Broadway Street, buying up this, that, and the other. And this is going on. Literally, this is going on. This keeps going on and on and on. And then by the time they say, you know what, you can go ahead and buy something, everything that's on the board is already bought out. Like, just like it took 400, 500 plus years of this oppression, and when we talk about slavery, it's going to take that long just to get things equal. But how do we start? We don't start by doing the same thing that we're doing. We start by really educating people, educating our children in the school system. This is how they think that critical race theory will be.
I hate the white man. He's of the devil. He was made in a cave in the worst parts of Europe, produced from the lowest forms of humanity.
That's not reality, right? That's not reality at all. In retrospect, without critical race theory, this is what they want you to think.
Hey boy, you better get to work picking that cotton. But why only me? Is it because I'm black? Now. It's not about that. It's about an economic system that may not be perfect, but is based on universal principles stated in the Declaration of Independence. I know you keep saying that. It just seems strange that there's no white people picking cotton. Wow. Again with the race. You need to stop reducing people to their skin color, my friend. You're the real racist here. You're right, Massa. I apologize for making you feel uncomfortable. I forgive you, boy.
And honestly, at the end of the day, none of that makes sense. At the end of the day, none of it makes sense. So, just like I asked you to write some comments about the baby, let me know what you think about critical race theory, right? This is a new topic, new topic for me. You know, honestly, until this year, I never even heard of critical race theory. But I want to know your thoughts on what you think. What you think? Do you think that it's important for us to teach the history, real history, to the students, and obviously in a childlike manner? Do you think that it's important for them to know the history to a certain extent at an age appropriate level, or do we pretend that, you know, it just never existed? Or I don't even say pretend that it never existed. Or do we pretend that everything is flowers and roses until they become adults? At the point they become adults, then we can teach them the nitty gritty. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't even make sense. So you tell me what your opinions on critical race theory is. I would like to know your thoughts behind it. So let us know what you think. So that brings us into the Black Business Shout Out. Black Business Shout Out. What? Black Business Shout Out. Black Business Shout Out. let's go into the black business shout out. The first black business shout out is actually called Be Love. Cool thing about Be Love is actually a skincare company, but the cool thing about them is they actually employ formerly incarcerated individuals as a way to help them and give them a second chance, which is dope, because a lot of times they say that they're rehabilitating people behind bars, and that's not the case. Then when they get out, they can't even get a job to save their life. How are they supposed to start over? So this is a black-owned company. Like I said, it's a skincare company. And like I said, I thought it was really dope that they hire formerly incarcerated people and just give them a second chance at life. So if you're interested in any type of skincare, natural products, definitely go check them out. And as always, it will be in the description link below. The next black business shout out is called Coco and Breezy. Coco and Breezy is an all-black company as well. The cool thing about them is that they actually sell eyeglassware. You know, they're more popular than, this is the first time I've actually heard it, because I'm always looking up, you know, different, you know, black businesses to shout out and different things of that nature. And I never heard of Coco and Breezy, but they're actually very popular. Not only do they sell sunglasses, but they actually sell prescription glasses, but you know, the cute trendy frames and stuff like that. And you know, a lot of people shop with them, like Rihanna and you know, other entertainers out there. So definitely go ahead and check them out as well. The description will be at the link below. So with that being said, thank you for all of your support. Definitely comment. The description of those black business shout outs will be in the description link below. And like I always tell you, go beyond the limit of the sky. Peace and blessings always.